today on the Frontline Health Podcast.
Absolutely. I think that is so key. You've got to be consistent about what you're doing. And it really does need to be more of a lifestyle than it is about a diet or an exercise routine for a period. You've got to be committed to saying this is a lifestyle that I'm going to take on and really take ownership of it. And I think simple things to kind of add on to what you said with that morning routine, make a plan for what you're going to eat the next morning before you get up, because it's so easy if you don't do that just to open up the cabinet, open up the refrigerator, see what's there, and you may not end up getting that perfect meal that you really need and your body needs to kind of get you kick-started.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to the Frontline Health Podcast, where we help you take ownership of your health with health news, tips, and insights. I'm Evan Patrick, and with me is Troy Duell, our founder and CEO here at Centurion Health. And today's episode is all about men's health. We're going to talk about where men are at today, what's changing as we age, and how we can build strong habits that keep us sharp physically, mentally, and hormonally.
I think it's a good reminder that this really isn't going to be a lecture. It's really not about what we aren't doing, but it's really more about what we can do. And our goal today really is kind of simple. We want to help you see that small, consistent decisions can really add up and create a huge difference in your health over time.
Yeah, that's so true. So let's start with a quick pulse check. Men's health is at a crossroads right now. A lot of guys are living longer, but not necessarily better.
That is very, very true. And interesting, I was listening to a few other things that they're starting to see the full lifespan of men and women starting to decrease for the first time in years. Mm-hmm. But you're absolutely right. We are, for the most part, living longer, at least in the West. But a lot of us aren't living well. We're living with a lot less energy. We seem to have more stress. There's more weight that we're carrying around, and our muscle mass really isn't what it used to be because we're not really working out the way that we once did. So hopefully we can put a little stamp in that and stop it and turn that around to where we'll start to really feel better after 30 and 40 than we did even in our 20s if we do the right things.
Yeah, and it's kind of easy for me to say right now, being 27 years old, but a lot of those issues, that we talk about that people deal with as they age, fatigue, brain fog, low drive, joint pain, they're not just getting older. They're often signs that the foundation of someone's health actually needs attention, and they haven't necessarily been doing the things they need to do to prevent those issues as they grow older.
Absolutely, and I think it starts with understanding those symptoms really are symptoms, and we can start by taking ownership, and we've got to start understanding that, hey, we're living with pain, we're living with excess weight, we're doing some of those things, so what do I need to do to make a difference? Because nobody else is going to do this for us. I think if anything, during COVID, we really learned that nobody is going to take better care of your health than you can. Mm-hmm. And the medical community can't, even our family can't, because there are times when our family can't come into the room with us. So it's really up to us to start that transformation, and we need to start moving it in the right direction so we can get into some good health.
That's a great word. And so to make things really easy today, we're going to talk about 4 health anchors that every man should pay attention to regardless of age or fitness level that can help you feel good. Because let's be honest, it's not just older men who are experiencing these things. I know plenty of people in their 20s and 30s who should be feeling like they're in the prime of their life because they are at the prime of their potential. But a lot of them are letting their health go in college and even beyond, and just thinking that as you age, even if you're still in your 20s or 30s, you just start to wake up with aches and pains and brain fog and fatigue and all these things.
Well, and a lot of that is because that's also the first time a lot of people are introduced to the sedentary lifestyle.
Right.
Up until your 20s, for the most part, you're always on the go, you're doing things. But once you get a full-time job, for most of us, you're not out actively working your body. And mm-hmm. you've got to truly make an investment and be conscientious about what you're doing each day to make sure you're getting out there and getting the best health possible.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as a kid, like in high school, I had 2 or 3 hours every single day that I would just be playing a sport. Right. And you really take that for granted. And then when you get outside of that, you have to be a lot more intentional to be active and take care of your health.
Very much so.
So here are 4 key anchors that every man should pay attention to regardless of age or fitness level. Number 1, muscle mass. 2, hormonal balance. 3, rest. And 4, daily discipline. Troy, why don't you get us started with number 1, muscle mass?
Yeah, so muscle mass. Your lean muscle mass is really kind of like a savings account for your health. It protects your joints, it helps regulate your metabolism, supports your blood sugar, and even your immune system, which we know all those things are tied into inflammation, which can cause the joint pain and everything else. So muscle mass is a big, big piece of that.
Totally agree. And it's not just about aesthetics. I think a lot of people first get into resistance training because they're thinking about the aesthetics. And I know some people have even been shamed out of doing resistance training and trying to build muscle because they think, why are you wanting to look this way? But in reality, it's a huge part of our health. So the fix is simple. We've already mentioned it, resistance training. You don't need to be able to bench press 300 pounds. A couple of days a week of full body strength work, pushing, pulling, having those squatting motions and those hinge lifts, that goes a long way. Troy, I know that you're a bit of a gym rat. Do you have any tips or want to share anything about things that you do?
I think the main thing is come up with a plan and make sure that you're doing it. And don't, as you get older, obviously you have less time. So my goal is to get all of my workout done within 30 to 45 minutes. Anything longer than that, and I start to feel like there's a drag going on. So get your heart rate up. Try to combine as many of those exercises as you possibly can to shorten the time that you're in the gym and get back to work.
Yeah, I heard somebody say something really good recently. It was that your health is not a zero-sum game. If you can only do, if you don't have access to any equipment and you can just do body weight squats and push-ups, start with that. If you don't have much time but you have access to the gym, choose just a few exercises that you can do and just do what you can do. And ultimately, hopefully that will snowball into more. But it's not a zero-sum game. Anything that you can do is better than doing nothing.
Absolutely. And I think there are little things you can do throughout the day to even support that. Like if you're in a building that has stairs and an elevator, take the stairs whenever you can. If you're in a parking lot, most of us try to circle to get that close parking spot. Instead, go ahead and park way out, save some dings in your car, and then walk in, as long as it's safe and well lit, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, kind of interesting, you didn't say anything about that strongman competition where you had to pull a car or flip any tractors over or anything like that. So that's not something we need to do?
That's right. Nothing like that. Just keep it simple. Work on stopping that muscle mass from decreasing as you get older.
Which is huge. And there is something to say about activities that you're going to be doing each day, because those will certainly help as we go throughout our day, especially if it's a place of work that we're having to lift certain things. So training for that is not always a bad thing, but don't get so caught up in what you're doing. Just do something and make sure that you're enjoying it.
Absolutely.
So next on our list you had mentioned was hormonal balance. And for guys especially, we're talking about testosterone. Mm-hmm. So it's not really about chasing that alpha status, but it's more about the energy, sleep quality, recovery, and that mental focus, because we know some of that brain fog can happen when you have a lack of testosterone.
Yeah, and that's interesting. One thing that you didn't mention just then that we've just been talking about is strength training. Isn't that also something that can help contribute to higher testosterone levels for men as they get older?
A lot of those studies do suggest that the more strength training you have, the higher your testosterone levels get, and it's a cycle. So you want to continue to push as hard as you can to keep your testosterone levels as high as they can be.
Mm-hmm. Most men don't realize how much those lifestyle choices, how much stress, poor sleep, lack of sunlight, and processed food can actually suppress their testosterone levels, and they turn immediately to supplementation. But as we've talked about a lot, even as a company that sells a lot of supplements, mm-hmm. right, you can't out-supplement a bad lifestyle.
You cannot, unfortunately, because it would be nice if we could all just take a pill and everything would be perfect again. But we do know that there are certain targeted supplements that you may want to think about taking. Vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, and then even things like ashwagandha. And then we've got some products that specifically have shown the ability to increase testosterone in people, called LJ100 and Shilajit complex. So those are some that you may want to think about if you are looking to change a few things in your diet and your exercise, and then add a few supplements in there.
Third on our list of anchors that can help you improve your health for men as you grow older is rest. Your mind reflects your body. And when your hormones are off, inflammation is high. You're going to feel it in your mood, your patience, and your focus.
And I think, honestly, we've been told through Scripture that we should have one day of rest. And I think there is that rhythm that we've always had from the very beginning that we're really created with, which is understanding we need that one day off. And it's not just that one day off. There's a cycle each and every day with sleep. So we've got to turn our brains off before bed. We need to make sure that we're reading other things. We're not focusing on too many things and really getting in a rhythm to get that sleep that we need and make sure we're getting the hours that we need. Because it's an easy thing to do to hop in bed, start scrolling through your phone, start texting people. But that blue light in studies that kind of comes off your computer or your phone really does affect our ability to sleep and changes our circadian rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking ownership means knowing when you need to step back, recalibrate, or just get outside and breathe. You don't need a therapist to know that your environment affects your biology.
That is so, so true. And that kind of brings us to the fourth anchor, which is daily discipline. So it's not built with motivation. It's actually built with structure. We've got to actually do some things, not just motivate ourselves.
Yeah, totally. You know, a really simple morning routine. I'm not talking about what you see the influencers do with the face plunge and all that kind of stuff that they do where they have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to do their 3-hour routine before
That's
work.
Right.
But a simple morning routine, consistent training schedule, and solid meals of nutrient-dense foods can do more for your long-term health than any 30-day challenge or flashy supplement. I've seen so many people before who they do these things that have a time limit on them, or they commit to doing something for a short period of time, and they're not committing their lifestyle to changes, and then they might make great progress over a 30-day or a 90-day period, whatever that is, and then they go back to the things that they were doing before, and they lose the progress that they made.
Absolutely. And I think that is so key. You've got to be consistent about what you're doing. And it really does need to be more of a lifestyle than it is about a diet or an exercise routine for a period. You've got to be committed to saying this is a lifestyle that I'm going to take on and really take ownership of it. And I think simple things to kind of add on to what you said with that morning routine, make a plan for what you're going to eat the next morning before you get up, because it's so easy if you don't do that just to open up the cabinet, open up the refrigerator, see what's there, and you may not end up getting that perfect meal that you really need and your body needs to kind of get you kick started.
Yeah, it really comes down to intentionality and the choices that we make. Small things like walking after meals, or for me at my desk, I can raise it up and stand, and even just standing after eating lunch. Prioritizing protein, going to bed before midnight. These are needle movers when it comes to our health. And it's really interesting how once you start stacking these healthy habits on top of each other, it's easier to stick to all of them. I find that when I'm more consistent with my daily Bible reading, for example, I'm also more consistent with my exercise routine. When I'm consistent with my exercise routine, I'm more disciplined in my eating habits. So these routines build on each other and they help in every other area of discipline. It's like they say, how you do anything is really how you do everything.
That's true. It kind of goes back to the book, Make Your Bed, because I think that is one of the disciplines that can help us move. Now, I'm horrible about making the bed. I don't do that.
Well, my wife has way too many throw pillows for me to spend time in the morning doing that.
Exactly. So you've got to prioritize what you can, because otherwise you wouldn't get your workout in if you're putting all the pillows in place. But the idea is still there. And yes, I believe that a little bit of discipline will go a long ways, and it starts to spread and begin to really become a contagion in everything you do if you do it right. So kind of to wrap this up, the state of men's health doesn't really have to be a crisis. It truly can be a turning point, and you don't have to wait for any diagnoses to make those changes. It really starts with you taking ownership of your health, and that starts with the decision to do it today.
Absolutely. So start with these things, move your body, get quality sleep, fuel with real food, build something with your hands, connect with your people, and shout out to David Goggins, go carry the boats.
Carry the boats, absolutely. And if you've already got some of these things dialed in, that is awesome. But go ahead and look and see if you can take it maybe to the next level. Begin to track your progress. Begin to test your blood. And just start taking it up a notch and talk to somebody else to kind of give you some accountability and get you on the right path if you need a little bit of help and encouragement.
Yeah. And men who take ownership of their health, they don't just live longer. We're talking about living better. They lead better. They show up stronger. One of the great trends that I've seen lately, Troy, is men recognizing that you're taking care of your own health is not a selfish thing. It's actually selfish to let yourself go and to not take care of your health, because then you don't have as much energy for your family, for your wife, for your kids. And so showing up and being having better health, you're setting an example for those in your life. You're being a leader, and you're going to be more effective in everything that you do.
Really couldn't have said that better myself. And it always takes me back to after 9/11. I was listening to one interview where they were interviewing the person, and they were like, what motivates you to be fit? And one of the responses was, I don't want to have a fireman come up the stairs to rescue me because I can't get down because of my bad health.
Yeah.
And especially if it's my decision. Now, if you happen to not be able to walk or have other issues, that's one thing. But if you can put yourself in a place where you're not a burden on the community in a time of crisis, I think that's also one of the things that we're trying to really push when we say take ownership of your health. You're doing it not just for your family, but you're also doing it for the community at large, because the healthier you are, the healthier the community is in a time of crisis too.
That's so good. Yeah, and that's really what taking ownership of your health is all about, right? It's not about being the best that there is out there. It's about controlling what you can control for yourself and for those around you.
Absolutely. And I think ultimately that's what we hope this podcast is all about. And if it is, and you got something out of it, we certainly hope that you will share it with a friend and encourage others to really get going and and take ownership of your health.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to share before we sign off?
I don't think I've got anything else.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Frontline Health Podcast. Men, go out and take ownership of your health today, because you are your best health advocate. See you next time. If you enjoyed what you heard today on the podcast, please consider leaving us a review. We would love to hear your feedback and connect with you further. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube. And for safe, effective, and affordable health and wellness products made in the USA, visit www.centurion.health. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.